was president? I was talking to a sister about this the other day. This little white boy going to Singapore with his reckless, animalistic behavior. Going over there spray painting cars in Singapore. This happened during when President Clinton was in office. They caught him. They knew he did it. And his punishment was going to be 8 lashes at the town square. And President Clinton begged the people in charge over there not to do it. They said, you don't come over here being reckless over here. No, he's going to get the lashes. And they plead and beg so much, they reduced the lashes from 8 lashes to 4 lashes. They whipped that white boy's ass, and he deserved it. Going to someone else's country, spray painting their property and their cars and being reckless. They should have goddamn gave him the 8 lashes. So these other countries, they have a different way of bringing about justice and deterring crime. And they don't mean these countries are perfect. They have their faults too. But all this recklessness and just being able to do what you want and almost being rewarded for it, no way. And those men, if they're guilty, they got what they deserved. You're going to rape a 10-year-old boy and then kill him and then think you're going to waste the taxpayers' money and go sit up in a jail and get fed 3 square? Hell no. They said, we're going to return you to the earth so you can be some good, because when we return to the earth, we're actually fertilizing the earth. So instead of you sitting here wasting space, we're going to get rid of your ass. We're going to get rid of your ass. This is the hour of power. This ain't the church. It's not the mosque. We just speak it straight on here. So they got rid of those 3 men for supposedly raping this 10-year-old boy. It's what you call the Sharia law. It's all over the internet. I have read this book, and it talked about how even some of the companions of the prophet, they thought their children were going to get a break because they were stealing. And the prophet said, no, they hand gotta go. Now, I am a Muslim, but I read the Bible. I'm not no scholar, no more than I'm not a scholar of the Quran. Now, what I just showed you, the Sharia law, this is not the Quran. It's just the Islamic law. It gives you all kind of punishment and things and ways they go about if you break the law in Islamic countries who follow the Sharia law. It's not the Quran, but it's supposed to be based off of the justice from the Quran. It just goes more in depth what will be done if you break a law. It's called the Sharia law. You probably have heard it a lot. They say, oh, they're applying Sharia law when they supposedly ran the towers, ran the planes into the towers. They're following Sharia law. No, that's not just. Number one, that was a hoax. Okay, we're going to talk about that soon coming up, because this bullshit ass 9/11 is coming up. That's right. I'm back. This 9/11 is coming up, and they're going to have it all over the news about how this these planes went into the towers and killed all these people. Leading engineers, I've even talked to some of them, said there's no way that them planes went into the towers and then they just pancake down like that. They said that's a demolition job from the bottom. I'm going to die anyway. I might as well tell the truth. And I don't have much time left. It's just what it is. They said that was a demolition job, the way those towers pancake down. A demolition job. And then at the Pentagon in Washington, they said another plane supposedly went through the Pentagon. But the plane is, the hole in the Pentagon is only like 16 feet wide. How can a jumbo jet plane go through the Pentagon and the hole only be 16 feet wide? That's more of a job of a Tomahawk missile. And it was a gas station down the street that recorded what actually went through the Pentagon, and the FBI supposedly came and confiscated the tape a day after 9/11. Isn't that strange? Look at the DVD called Loose Change, documented by two white men, and they give the documented proof that that was all a setup, a demolition job. Pancake down. How does that happen? With all that fuel, gallons and gallons of fuel, and the thing just pancakes down? You've seen them do demolition jobs with buildings they don't need anymore. The demolition comes from the bottom in the same way, just pancakes down. Really, America. But anyway, I read the Bible, and it talks about the punishment of rape and sexual assault and the protection of women. If y'all have time, I hope y'all doing all right. I'm sorry that this is so vulgar, but it's the truth. I told you in the beginning, you may not like the flavor of it, but I speak the truth. Now in Judges, I'm talking about the Bible now. For those who say, oh, this is cruel, they shouldn't have did that to them men, forgive them. Okay. In Judges, chapter 19, 1 through 30, I'm not going to read all of that because it's just too long. But in this commentary that I read with someone who gave their commentary on this, this is Judges, chapter 19, 1 through 30, which is in the Old Testament. It's a story about a woman who is in the concubine of a man that has a lot of money. And the Levite and her owner and master, she escapes and goes back to her father's house. But according to this Bible verse, it never names anyone. And then they go down the street and get another virgin girl from a visitor's house and bring her to the concubine, and they rape her until the morning light. This is in Judges 19 through 31. They go get this girl from a neighbor's house. The first girl ran and went back to the father's house. I think I'm reading this right. I just don't want to read it all. But you can go to Judges 19, 1 through 30. But it's about a concubine and how they raped this girl. And it says, while he finally gets home, he takes her body and cuts it into 12 pieces, meaning this concubine, and has one piece delivered to each tribe in Israel, which is some kind of warning. Yes, the rape, the gang rape of a girl and a concubine. And it gives these graphic pictures. I'm not going to show it. In any event, a civil war starts behind this. 25,000 men from the tribe of Benjamin are killed in one day behind the rape and the gang rape of this girl and a concubine. Someone has the brilliant idea to take 400 virgins to the town of Japheth, and the surviving 600 Benjamite males, they get killed too. So the victors capture 200 more women and send them along too. Men, women, and children, and beasts. And 600 more women were killed. This is all in Judges, chapter 19, 1 through 30. The gang rape of a concubine woman. Now, in Genesis, chapter 34, in the title, it's called The Defilement of Diana. Diana is the daughter of Jacob. To make a long story short, and I'm not good at interpreting these names in the Bible, any of my Christian family out there, I'm not being disrespectful. I just want you to not look at me for me pronouncing a name wrong. I just want you to get the gist of what I'm saying about how rape and sexual assault was handled in the Bible. This is Genesis chapter 34, and it's called The Defilement of Diana, who was the daughter of Jacob. And it talks about how Jacob, Diana was the daughter of Jacob, and this man named Shechem, and his father was Hamor, and he just had a thing for Jacob's daughter, Diana, and he defiled her and raped her. Jacob, the father, found out and told his sons, and they had the nerve to ask for his daughter's hand in marriage after he defiled her. I'm paraphrasing this Shechem person and his father Hamor. Jacob and his sons tricked them into believing that they would agree to this ridiculous offer to take Diana as his wife. They met them in the town, to make a long story short, and what does it say here? And it came to pass on the third day, and Jacob and Simeon and Levi, Diana's brethren, took each man his sword, came upon the city which they invited them to, and slew all the males for the defilement of their daughter, of Jacob's daughter, and their sister Diana. Slew all the men in the town. And they asked them, can we have your daughter in marriage? Meaning this Shechem and his father Hamor asked to commune with them. And Jacob and them reluctantly, but trickily agreed to it. But they said, that ain't going to happen. They went into the town and slew all the damn men in the town for defiling his daughter, which was Jacob's daughter Diana, and his brethren. Her brethren, which was Levi, Simeon, I believe that's all the brethren. But they slew all the males in the town for the defilement of Diana. That's how that was handled. And it's more about the defilement of women. I'm going to read one more about how it's handled. About if you disrespect and rape women. We need to take this teaching on. And maybe some of our women will be safe. Let me see if I can find this other one. I can remember a lot of things because I read the Bible more than what people think. Just because you're a Muslim, that don't mean you don't read the Bible. I hope y'all are learning from this. I know it's a little rough, but it's the truth. Let me see here. Well, maybe I'll leave that alone because I had another one, but basically, and yes, the Bible does talk about incest, Brother Angelo. But I wanted to read one of these in here, but it basically talked about the rape of women is punishable by death. That's what I wanted to find. It's in Genesis 23. Oh well, but it's in there. It's in there. It's in Genesis 23, somewhere in there. But it talks about disrespecting women, and the rape of women is punishable by death. It's punishable by death. So, and I know what some people will say, and this isn't no religious debate. They'll say, well, that's the Old Testament, and we're going by the new law, which is in the New Testament. But in the New Testament, I've talked about this before. In 5:17, it says we haven't come to change the old law, but to fulfill it. So these things that we just read out the Bible about the treatment of women and how what they would do if they found that was a law in the Old Testament. So in the New Testament, it says we haven't come to change the old law, but to fulfill it. I don't know any other way to interpret that. But I know one thing. I am not here to argue any scripture. I gave you the scriptures. I wanted to find that last one about murder, not murder, but rape of women is punishable by death. And you saw what Jacob did about that. And I could give you many, many more, right? But one thing I am tired of, I'm not here to argue any scripture. I'm not here for that. But one thing I am tired of, I'm tired of hearing about particularly our sisters being sexually abused and raped by their own fathers, their uncles, their brothers, and friends of the damn family. I'm sick of it. It makes me sick to my stomach to keep hearing these things. I've seen it in my own circle, some of my own family, and we hear about these horror stories, and many of us, it's quiet. Silence on many things means you agree. especially when someone's life and well-being is at risk. Some things you just need to be silent on. But the rape